Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm going to be giving my first impressions of the new Cloudboom from On Running. This is On Running's latest and greatest racing shoe and their first introduction into a carbon plated shoe. Okay, so let's go over some of the stats on the shoe. A men's 8.5 weighs in at 7.7 ounces or about 220 grams. Has a 9mm heel to toe drop. Has really nice opened up breathable mesh on the upper. If you slide this shoe on barefoot, you'll be able to see your toes immediately. Padding inside the heel is very nice, very comfortable. And like I said before, this is On's introduction into a carbon plated shoe, and that's not entirely true. So as many of you know, every On running shoe has a Speedboard in the shoe, and this one is no exception. It's just this one is infused with 15% carbon, so it does make the shoe quite a bit stiffer than the other models in On Running's lineup. But to be honest, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't more stiff of a shoe when I first tried a pair on. So this Speedboard, it's actually exposed. You can actually see it running the entire length of the shoe, and it's sandwiched between two layers of Helion foam. There is a decent amount of rubber on the outsole of the shoe, and I do like the tread. I think this shoe is going to perform just fine in wet conditions. And On says you'll be able to take this shoe up to full marathon distance. Now I've only done one run in this shoe. I did about 10K or 6 miles in it this morning. So this is just a first impressions video. This is by no means, I've put 100 miles on this shoe and here's my full in-depth review. But with that being said, here are my initial thoughts. So with carbon plates being the new trend in running, I want to try as many of them as I can to see which one I like and prefer. And to be honest, I was a little underwhelmed with the Cloudboom. I had talked to some competitors after a race I did pre-COVID, obviously, and a lot of them were wearing the Vaporfly, and I got to talking with them, and a lot of them were telling me just how aggressive the shoe feels, and they can definitely notice, you know, an explosive push-off every time their foot strikes and leaves the ground. And since then, that's what I've been looking for every time I buy a carbon plated shoe. I want something that feels really aggressive and that I can really notice a big difference. And I'm not sure that's going to be the case with this shoe. I would say this does feel like one of On's fastest shoes. As many of you know who have been watching my channel, the Cloud Flow is my favorite shoe of all time. I'm definitely say this shoe feels a lot faster than that, but it's supposed to. It's made for racing. And I would say this shoe is actually more suited for distances of 10K up to a half marathon. I just don't think this shoe is going to provide enough cushion or support to get you all the way to the end of a full marathon comfortably. And as far as racing anything shorter than a 10K, I'd probably choose a lighter racing flat. So something like this. This is the A6 Tarthur Zeal 6. This is one of my favorite racing flats, and it weighs in at only 5.5 ounces. So a whole 2 ounces lighter than this shoe. So when it comes to something like a fast 5K, I'm definitely looking for lightness over something like this. Now this isn't a heavy shoe by any means. It's just for 10K and under, I'm really looking for something really lightweight. As far as how does this shoe feel on the foot, it feels fine. This shoe does fit extremely narrow, so if you have a wider foot at all, definitely avoid this shoe. Very little support offered in this shoe, just like most racing flats. But ultimately, for me, when I ran in the shoe this morning, it felt more like just a really nice racing flat to me. And I think that's kind of the category this should be in. I'm not entirely sure you can place this with the Carbon X or any of the Nike carbon plated shoes. As far as price goes, it does come in at 250 Canadian or 200 US. So it's pricey. Most On running shoes are, but it's still much cheaper than the Nike carbon plated shoes. But then you can also look at it as it's quite a bit more expensive than most of the normal racing flats out there on the market. So it's kind of in this weird in-between ground. Yes, it does have a carbon infused plate in it. Do I think it's going to perform as well as some of the other carbon plated shoes on the market? no, I don't think so, especially for longer distances like a half and a full. So overall, I'm pumped that On is giving us some new products to try, like the Cloudboom. I think this shoe is kind of in a weird category as far as performance and price goes. And don't get me wrong, this shoe is absolutely a race day shoe. And I think this shoe is going to have a relatively small range of runners who can actually wear and enjoy this. First of all, you need to have a pretty average to narrow sized foot, or else this is definitely not going to work. Secondly, you probably shouldn't be too heavy of a runner wearing a shoe like this. And third, I think this shoe is intended for more faster paced runners. So this is all fine. There's plenty of shoes out there that target those types of runners, but I think at that price point it's going to be a hard sell for a lot of runners. They're spending $250. I think a lot of them will just cough up the extra $100 and get themselves an Alpha Fly, or you can spend $50 less and get you a really nice racing flat like this Asics or many others that are out there on the market. So if you are a fan of On Running and you really like some of their other shoes like the Cloud Flow, and you want something that's just a little bit more intended for race day, between kind of that 10K to half marathon distance, yeah, give this shoe a try. As of right now, if you've watched the previous video on this channel, you'll know that On is doing a 90-day free trial of their shoes. So it's not free, you have to buy the shoes, but if you don't like them after 90 days, you're going to be able to return them for a full refund, no questions asked. So this shoe could be the perfect shoe to try, because dropping 250 or 200 US on a shoe that doesn't work is quite a bit. And that's my first impressions of the Cloudboom. If you liked this review, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more everything running, triathlon, and nutrition related.